So I actually got a microphone brand new. So now my videos are going to sound a little more clear and more crisp. So there's that. so the topic of today's video is going to be about it's going to be about how the medical industry in the United States, and I mean, I guess we're going to call it an industry, but should never be treated as a business when caring for people's health. I mean, at the end of the day, it is when you talk about costs of being involved, labor, etc. But its prime focus should never be money driven. But I mean, I don't know if I don't think I'm the only one, but lately in the last couple years, the medical system has completely deteriorated in the United States in terms of quality. And one could say that if there was a trade off, that okay, it's less expensive, that's not the case. We literally are paying more money for crappier quality service. It just genuinely feels like every time you go to the doctor, you're just inconveniencing them, or it's just more of like the lines of like, you gotta go here or you gotta go there. And it's like, no one really knows what they're doing. Everyone is also focused on what the insurance is or is not gonna pay or cover. And it's like, where is patient care? And I think a lot of like nurses, I haven't really seen all these videos, but I do see a lot of headlines and titles of like nurses being burned out, nurse generation, whatever, people dropping out of the medical field when they studied, half their life, it going towards it, and they just can't be in it anymore. And I think a lot of it does have to do with what I'm talking about as a patient, or from a patient's experience, that it's just, um, it's like people want to help their patients. I'm talking about people specifically, healthcare professionals that are in it for the good reason, want to help their patients, but feel like they lack the resources to do so or the liberty to do so in whatever way. And they might just feel like disingenuous or disenfranchised. Sorry, that's the right word. Not disingenuous. They feel disenfranchised in the system. Um, in that feeling, maybe they just don't have the say of like, what to about how to go about treating their patients. But aside from just feeling like a number in the medical system, what's completely disheartening is how there are some healthcare professionals that sorely lack empathy. And it's just like, that's one of the top things that make or break a healthcare professional, and from a patient experience, patient satisfaction. Um, and it's just like every time you go to a doctor, it's like, again, they kind of just think that you're just crazy or you have anxiety, and it's just like, I understand that. So for especially specifically for someone that I have definitely experienced somatic, like physical symptoms from anxiety alone. Not everything is anxiety. Like, there really are things like iron deficiency, ferritin deficiency, vitamin D deficiency, like, that alone can make someone feel like they're mentally unstable, what when reality is they're just lacking in nutrients. And then there are other things like fibromyalgia, a bunch of other like kind of lesser known or less treated types of conditions, because doctors don't understand, you know, certain things. Like, maybe there are certain things that are non-life threatening, like MS or something, or any kind of autoimmune disease or cancers or whatever. It's just, but they are still they still impact someone's life, especially, again, like, someone may have something and that they don't really know until they go through a stressful period of their life, and they're, you know it's like an acute flare up, that seems to only be present then. So sometimes it may seem like it's random, but it's not. It's just that you've always had it. It's just you didn't really, it might have just been subtle. It's kind of like, oh, I have some aches and pains or whatever, but I'll stretch it out. But then when you're on an acute phase, you have headaches and nausea and just general feeling of unease and, you know, right? So it's like, again, going back to about healthcare in the US, the thing is that yeah, it's just the principles are messed up right now, and it would be a consolidation if at least the price of healthcare or the affordability would be there, but that's not even the case. So, and then on top of everything, you have insurance. And the entire insurance thing, it's just kind of crazy how it works here. It's like people sometimes they stick around in a job that they don't necessarily, or maybe they're in a career they don't necessarily like, because literally their healthcare is tied to that. Because without, I mean, you literally are sort of having to fend for getting insurance on your own or going without. And that's just even worse because that's even more stressful as financial insecurity. That is definitely a stressor, 100%. um so yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. Anyways, that's kind of all I have for this video. I really wish it wasn't like this. I really don't know if there's any positive thing to say, like, to wrap up about this particular issue. um because yeah, um unless we have some radical changes in policies, um, and our economy, is just like, this is just kind of how it is. So honestly, the only thing I suggest to you guys is what you can control, and that's definitely try to keep as healthy as possible. I know it's hard to be. Some would say just don't stress. It's kind of hard not to stress in these particular times. Um, but I mean, the last thing you need is to be at the whims of the fractured medical system, you know, here in the United States. So, and by fractured, I don't mean like, oh my God, we're out of resources, or it's not like a third world country, like, where they literally lack medication and supplies in some cases. It's not like that. It's just a fracture in the sense of it's just lack of knowledge, empathy, and understanding, and just care, really, and just not wanting to feel like a number in the system, you know, not wanting to feel like a, like a burden, or like you're crazy. Like, we just want constructive care that's affordable. That's all we're advocating for. Anyways, I'm gonna sign off just right here. Talk to you guys in the next video.